I played the Artful Dodger in Oliver when I was about 13, and I walked away from that and said, I have to do this, I've got to be an actor. And I was unwavering from that moment on. I was very lucky. They had an amazing little youth theatre in my hometown where kids could just come and do plays. The guy who was running that youth theatre, I come from this small town, Coventry, is now runs the Royal Shakespeare Company. Can you believe that? I'd kind of stopped acting a bit, and I'd just been unemployed in my hometown for a couple of years, and I suddenly realised if I don't get into a drama school, it ain't going to happen. So I only applied for the one, and that was RADA. They had this guy who ran it for about 20 years called Hugh Crutwell. All this guy asked the actors to do is stand on the stage and do a 3-minute Shakespeare, a 3-minute modern, and on that he would choose 18 people a year. And I did Bottom, can you believe, from Midsummer Night's Dream, yeah. And I did a speech from a modern play that I'd done with this youth theatre, and the character just basically abuses the audience, so I just stood there shouting and swearing at the people, and they picked me and let me in. Getting into somewhere like RADA for a kid like me, coming from where I came from, was the beginning of the whole thing, really. It was after drama school, sort of a year out, I did a 7-month tour all over Europe of Romeo and Juliet. I remember she came in late. She was like half an hour late, and obviously I'm sitting there having been cast as Romeo, thinking, I wonder what Juliet's going to be like. And she came in and she had this corduroy jacket on and all this pile of second-hand books she just bought from a bookshop, and her glasses were falling off, and I kind of fell in love at that moment. I didn't think it would be a great idea if Romeo and Juliet got together and then it all fell apart, you know, even before you started the tour. I thought it would be a very strange tour. So we didn't do anything about it until about halfway through, and then I think we finally got together in Belfast. When we did the big balcony scene, I always thought we had this amazing connection. I was like, this is just... And then she admitted to me much later she couldn't even see me because she's so short-sighted and didn't wear her glasses on stage. So it was me thinking that we had such a strong connection, and she could barely see me. You know, I did a lot of theatre when I first left RADA, and then sort of 2.5 years after leaving, I landed this very big TV show called Chancer. What I do remember is finding it very hard to adjust to becoming known. They had these, you know, they had sort of posters everywhere on the tube of my face and this sort of tag phrase, which was, you know, what's the matter, don't you trust me? It took me a good year or two to get used to the whole thing of being recognized and what that was like. Hemingway was that kind of writer in that it was physical and virile. He could drink all night, legendary amounts, and then every morning, 6 o'clock, he'd be up and he'd write for 6 hours straight, really committedly, and then start drinking again. Yeah, I mean, I obviously had to put some weight on, but yeah, no, I completely immersed myself. I found it, I don't think I've ever done anywhere near as much research for anything. To immerse myself in all things Hemingway, to read everything that he wrote, to read everything about him, to listen to all the audios, to see any of film footage of him, it was kind of a treat. I was just typing whatever, yeah. It was more about trying to get the action of the typing right. But that's all taken from him. That was him. That's his quote about, you know, never crumple pages. If you crumple pages, you'll be insane in a year. Sex scenes are only hard if there's no narrative through the sex scene. When you've got something to act, it's like any other scene. It's much harder to do a death scene because you've got to do it convincingly, and it's a huge thing to die. It's a pretty big thing.